It is that time of the year again. Summer blockbuster movies can't get better than any other seasons of movies. Let's talk about and dive all the breakdowns for this summer's movies here on this podcast.
I scream, you scream for movies, and that's what we be doing.
What is good, movie fans? Welcome to I Screen, You Scream 4, number 4, 4 movies. I'm Danny Escavallaggi. Before we get started, subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening on. And don't forget to follow my social media platforms at Twitter, X, and TikTok. They'll both be in the show notes and the description of each episode. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, best time to be alive, the summer blockbuster. My favorite time of the year, as always, as moviegoers. The summer blockbuster is finally here. And for this bonus huge episode, I couldn't do this alone like I promised. I have to bring in the box office powerhouse himself from Exhibitors Relations Co., returning from my last season of I Screen, You Scream 4, number 4 for movies. This is Jeff Bock from the Box Office Exhibitors Relations Co. Welcome back to the show, Jeff.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Danny. It is the best time of the season. If you love popcorn films, if you love blockbusters, this is what you live for. This is 4 months, the number 4 months of huge studio movies, back to back, belt to belt. This is what we live for. This is, you have popcorn coursing through your veins. And I know a lot of people say, hey, it's not going to be the best summer. It's not going to be the biggest summer. But hey, listen, there is something out there for everyone. This is summer. This is not the pandemic. Hollywood is not taking a couple months off. There's a lot of good stuff out there.
Oh, yeah. Right. So before we get started, how hype are you from this summer last year to this summer? Now, I know you've been on the BO Boys last episode about the summer preview, which I listened to 2 hours, such a long time, but I was able to listen how much you're hyped for it. So I'm going to let you speak on my behalf and their behalf. How hype are you for this summer's blockbuster this year compared to last year, Jeff?
Okay, not quite as hype as last year. Last year I was riding really high. Michael Keaton in The Flash really got me going. We all know how that turned out. So I had to modify my hype a little bit. But I'm still at 57% hype right now. And that's really good for summer. That is, we have about 24% less product than we had in 2019. We have about the same number that we had last year in terms of summer blockbusters, but obviously studios did not spend as much on these films as they did last year. So they're not quite as high profile as last year, but that doesn't mean that they can't explode. That doesn't mean that they won't pop at the box office.
Right. We had Barbenheimer last year, which it kind of saved last summer, which great for business, great for movie theaters. It was a big, big summer event for that. And we, of course, are probably never going to get that in a while, but I think this summer for the slate isn't going to be this terrible. I mean, hey, we got so many films to look forward to, not as much last year. And yeah, you're right. The Flash, it got me hype, but it turned out to be nothing, unfortunately. I hope you weren't. I'm kind of assuming we were both scammed and everybody. I mean, it just didn't do amazing, or it just didn't do what it's supposed to do. It's insane.
Yeah, and in the end, you just wish you had another Michael Keaton Batman film. That's what I really got out of watching The Flash. It's like, God, Warner Brothers could have done so much. DC Films could have done so much with just giving us one more Michael Keaton film. And hey, who knows? Maybe something will happen. We don't know where DC is headed next. Nobody does. And they're certainly not even part of this summer's release calendar. The only 3 comic book movies we're looking at: Deadpool and Wolverine, The Crow, and unfortunately, KravenTheHunter over Labor Day weekend.
I cannot wait to get to one of them, but one of them we're gonna just basically just.
Oh yeah, we're gonna geek out on.
We're gonna be a little.
Deadpool, Wolverine.
Yeah. I mean, like the other movie, but Deadpool Wolverine, it's exciting for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
So, kicking off this summer, and surprisingly, I think it's a great choice because we've been getting superhero comic books to kick off every summer. We had Guardians last year, which turned out to be great. I just knew it'd be doing business because of James Gunn, and I never doubt James Gunn. Proven that. We had Doctor Strange in 2022, and it still did okay business. Just the word of mouth and the explosion wasn't there. It was supposed to be. And now we got, look, we're supposed to get Deadpool 3 this first week of May, but instead it got moved. Obviously, the strike's going on. That's what's been shifting around. And you had The Fall Guy, which we're going to discuss now. The Fall Guy was supposed to come out March 1st. But in this type of NFL draft situation, it basically got traded to Switch when Dune got the March 1st slot. So right now, The Fall Guy is what we're starting off this summer, May 3rd, 2024. I'm excited.
If you're craving Barbenheimer, it has Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt. So it has the pieces that you loved and remember from last summer in Barbenheimer. This is the closest thing we're ever going to get to a Barbenheimer sequel. So I saw this film. They presented it at CinemaCon.
You were at CinemaCon.
It's a solid piece of entertainment. Yeah, and it's a big budget comedy, which there aren't a lot of this summer. If we look down the list, there's The Fall Guy, there's Bad Boys Ride or Die, which is action comedy. Fall Guy is actually an action thriller comedy as well. So it kind of falls into that boat. But what The Fall Guy is and what it represents is something completely different for Hollywood. Like you said, Danny, it's been 17 years since a Marvel film, whether that is a Fox, Disney, or Sony release, since a Marvel film has kicked off the summer. 17 years in a row, we've had Marvel films. So Marvel is not the guiding light this summer, and that is a huge sea change for all of cinema. And whether The Fall Guy is going to be The Fall Guy or not, we're going to find out. Those opening weekend pre-sales are not inspiring me right now.
Me too. Not much in Michigan too, as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at those, and I'm just like, and we have to remember, this is not a Marvel film. It's not going to open 100 million. Most of those Marvel films within the last 17 years, like I talked about, if we break those down, the average Marvel film opened at about 160 million domestic. And that is just so far outside of what The Fall Guy will be able to do. If it could do 35 to 40 million, that would be a great number for The Fall Guy. Some people, though, think that it's going to open below 30 million, which it'd be a tough start. I'm not going to lie. If Fall Guy does under, that sets a really poor tone for the summer. But that said, again, we're talking about an action comedy. It's a different beast. Those films usually have legs, and hopefully people will see this. And they're like, hey, you know what? It's a good film. Word of mouth will be good on this. And it plays all through May. That's the hope for this film from Universal.
And the question is, Ryan Gosling's star power since Barbie, since his Kenergy brought the Oscar.
Oh, yeah.
And he brought the performance, and he brought the Saturday Night Live treatment. I think it's just got bigger and bigger and bigger ever since its portrayal as Ken. Wow, he's just right to the top where he should be like before. But right now, I think a lot of ladies would definitely show up. And look, Emily Blunt, I think this is a great co-star value. And I think this movie could do almost gigantic. But yeah, you're right. It's not going to be nowhere Marvel numbers. But if it can open in the 30s to 40s, I think this could do great start. The cinema score, we'll have to see. Look, this is May. It's pretty a little light at the moment. I think this is going to do just great for a genre for What is your number going forward to predict opening weekend?
I'll tell you that in a second. The other thing that Fall Guy has going for it is a $125 million budget, which isn't bad for a film of this nature. It's got David Leitch as the director. A lot of people do know him from the Deadpool 2
and Bullet Train.
And Bullet Train.
I love that film.
This guy knows action. He knows stunts. It's fun. It does feel like a popcorn movie. Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt have so much chemistry in this film. And Ryan Gosling, when he walks, every scene he is in, you just know he's a star now. He just is. He is a major, major star now, and you can feel it with this release. Now, the question is this too inside Hollywood? Because it is about the stunt community on a set in Hollywood. We know from the history of the box office that films about movies traditionally don't do great at the box office. So let's hope that people fall back on the comedy of this and not the fact that it's set on a movie set, because that can be a problem for a lot of middle America. It kind of turns them off. They don't want to see a film about the inside industry of Hollywood. So I'm going to go conservative on this. I'm going to go 35 million opening for The Fall Guy, which again, it's not bad. It just has to have legs from week to week. We know that second week is going to bring us Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
We'll get to that in a bit.
And that's the film that will open bigger than The Fall Guy, probably. I predict it will. That's the film. You should probably have flip-flopped these two, because I think Kingdom would have been a better kickoff for the summer movie season.
Right. You're right. So I meant to mention the trailers. Okay, so the songs were terrible. I will admit some of the trailers were just not good. But hey, the piece of story and the piece of action, I still like it. At least it's entertaining. So either way, the trailer songs were just at the same time. But regardless to the trailer songs, regardless of how bad and how good this movie looks, I'm going to go with Ryan Gosling's star. I mean, I'm going to go with 41. I'm going to go 41 on that for sure.
And it could happen. Again, if it hits over 40, I think Universal would be very pleased. Again, you're right. This comes after a very slow period. And what we've seen at the box office in the past, when you have films underperforming, like we've seen from Abigail, like we've seen from Omen, Monkey Man, all of April really has been a slow month. Challengers will probably struggle this weekend. It'll do fine for what it is, but we're talking about big openings, and we haven't really seen that since March. So you're right. This has been a dormant period. The Fall Guy is a big, flashy Hollywood action comedy. Could hit 40 million plus. It would be nice if it did.
Oh yeah, totally. Anything else to comment on The Fall Guy? Because a little film we should discuss kicking off as well. What do you want to say?
Yeah, just as far as that goes, usually films don't open against these big Marvel films when they kick off summer, right? But because The Fall Guy is The Fall Guy and not a Marvel film, we have Tarot, horror film from Sony opening, and we also have Star Wars: The Phantom Menace reissue, which actually a lot of people are excited about. I don't know if Gen X isn't really excited because they saw it in the theaters and they didn't really like it, but I think Gen Z and millennials are into this, and I think it's going to propel it to some kind of surprising numbers.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's an 8-hour marathon of Star Wars. I mean, it's going to probably cut half of it. I mean, if anything. Yeah, you said Tyrod, right? This is a Sony horror movie. All I gotta say is the horror movies are completely stale right now. And as you mentioned, we haven't seen horror breakout since what? I can't remember the last horror movie that broke out insanely besides Five Nights at Freddy's. I mean, last year was a big hit.
Yeah, and really that is the one that you're looking at is as far as what's happened this year, Imaginary, Abigail, these films are making money, but they're not making a lot of money. They're not making a real big splash at the box office. We didn't have a Megan like we had last year. What was the movie that kicked off? Night Swim. Night Swim was Megan. Yeah. So again, at least Hollywood's giving us a steady diet of horror films because there is a huge appetite for that. There are 8 big horror releases coming out this summer. That's a big number. Let's just hope they can sustain. And obviously we're getting a double dose of Shyamalan, the father and the daughter both releasing a movie this summer, a double Shyamalan. We've never had that. I'm looking forward to it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to get into that a little bit next for June. But
yeah,
Tyrod, I got no prediction on it. What's your prediction?
I mean, Tarot is it would be nice if it showed up like Escape Room did. That was another low budget Sony horror film. I think they made it for 9 million. It opened and played well enough to even get a sequel. So I think the hope here is that just enough people show up that love the genre. It's going to be about teens in terrorized, with these cards.
Yeah.
Could be interesting. It could surprise. I'll say this: it could surprise, but there has been zero advertising for this film. I have not seen anything. So
Sony's been struggling all year.
Yeah, that worries me about the opening. Star Wars doesn't need any promotion. The fact that it's in theaters, people will know. People will tell their friends. Phantom Menace could do some box office damage this opening summer kickoff. It'd be pretty funny if it did, actually.
It's the force of Star Wars, the May 4th thing.
Exactly.
That's probably why. So the Saturday's going to probably kick in a little more.
Yeah,
you're right.
Absolutely.
But we shall see. So you're going 35 in Fall Guy. I'm going 41. All right. Yeah. We're all set with the Fall Guy. So going on to May 10th. Look, I'm excited, but I'm conservative about this IP at the same time. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is on May 10th. Kicking off. It should have been kicking off. You're right. The swapping between those two movies, The Fall Guy and Planet of the Apes. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is insanely exciting because heck, who doesn't love apes? King Kong was the America star.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my concern of this part is, do people still care about this IP ever since War for the Planet of the Apes? Without Caesar, which he died last movie, Andy Serkis was probably the star during that time. So I'm a little conservative how it will do because of this IP. So,
yeah, I think that, this is a franchise that is, over 50 years old, right? This started back in the 60s. They started releasing these films. And there was a long period between that before they even really became successful again. You mentioned that trilogy that we had most recently in the teens. And those, obviously, the second one of that, was it War of the Planet of the Apes?
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, yeah. The Dawn of the Planet of the Apes made 710 million worldwide. So that's a huge number. If this could get even to 500 worldwide, I think that would be a great place to start for Kingdom. Obviously, 20th Century and Disney and director Wes Ball, they want this to be a new trilogy. They have said as much. It's no surprise. It's not shocking to hear this from Disney. They want a new trilogy out of this, to say the least. So I think that number, if they got to 400 worldwide, this would get another sequel. So That's what they want. Apes has made over $2 billion worldwide. This franchise, it's legit. I think we what we saw with Godzilla X Kong and King Kong himself, you're right. This isn't King Kong, but it's very similar. Like, people love, to see these big apes on screen. And honestly, I think Godzilla X Kong will actually help this film because it's kind of phasing out now. If people want another dose of that, this is that film. And it's the first sequel of the summer. And it does scream, hey, welcome to the summer movie season. So I think that this has a lot going for it. Usually what we see in that second weekend, because a Marvel film kicks off the summer, we see some throwaways usually in that second weekend because they know they have to compete with the second week of a Marvel film, and that's usually not pretty. This is not the case here. Like I said before, I think Kingdom could have a bigger opening than Fall Guy. If it does disappoint a little bit, these movies have been very steady, opening with around $60 million. So I don't think an opening of 50 million plus is out of the question here.
Yeah. So I wanted to throw out a question. You were at CinemaCon, right?
Yeah.
And just to get the buzz for this film, because look, I love buzzes as much as anyone, and a good buzz. You saw 13 minutes of this movie at Disney's panel. What are your thoughts, just to get people to let them know about this film? Because I heard amazing things of how this film was done. But what are your thoughts to 13 minutes of this movie they showed at CinemaCon?
It's interesting because it's a lot of CGI. But you can't, it's so well done that you can't tell that it is CGI. Obviously with the apes.
This is not green screen. They haven't shot most of that in green screen. They shot this in like realistic location, which is amazing.
Yeah, realistic locations, and then they CGI everything on there, and it's really well done. It's pretty seamless, and it's beautiful. That's the thing about this. This is going to be one of those films that you will want to see on the biggest screen possible because they did such a good job on it. They gave us about, I'll tell you this, they gave us the first like 8 minutes, I think, was this setup scene where they're trying to get an egg on the side of this mountain, and these apes are, and it was almost like watching a nature documentary. So it's a very different take on this Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes because it's set 300 years after the last apes, right?
Right.
So the world has changed a lot since then. It's kind of gone back to nature, right? And so you get that feeling because they give you this 8-10 minute kind of just, hey, these are apes and they're living their lives in nature. So it deals with the reality of that situation. It wasn't until the last few minutes that we got, okay, there's still humans here. Now there's ape on ape action, and there's some warring factions going on. And it gets pretty intense. So that's what I expect from this film. That it'll kind of set you in a place where you think everything's peaceful, and all of a sudden we're going to war, and that will build as this film goes. That's what Disney showed us. That's what it looks like. I think people will like this film. If you've liked any of the other apes, you're gonna like this. Wes Ball, the director of Maze Runner trilogy. I think he's a really good director, and I think this is a great move for him, actually.
I cannot wait for him to do the Zelda films. Man, the Zelda film, it's going to be something. But looking out for West Ball for sure. I'm keeping my eye on this guy. And how he's going to do the Planet of the Apes movie, I think it's promising what he's doing.
Yeah.
So
I do too.
It's promising. Very nice. What is your prediction of opening number? I'm going to go, you said at making 50 above is no question. So I'm going to go for a 66.
Yeah, I like that number. I'm gonna go with the odds here. I'm gonna just lay it exactly at 60. I'm gonna go 60 million opening. That would be an amazing number.
That'd be amazing.
Pessimistically, I'm thinking somewhere in the 50s, but I would love to see it get into the 60s, and it might. We still haven't seen the full force of Disney's advertising on this thing, but we will in the next couple weeks.
Actually. They did. They had horses and actual people dressing up as apes.
Yeah.
On horses on the beach, because that's an interesting viral marketing right there.
Yeah.
They're getting the word on this.
They're getting it out, but we'll see that over the next couple. We'll see even more. It'll be on every TV show. Yeah. This is Disney. Disney knows how to market a summer film. And they don't have many of them. They only have 4 when you include Disney and 20th Century. So they're going to go all out on these. And of course, every film they're releasing this summer is a sequel. You got that right. That's what Disney does. They do it very well.
They do. All right. Anything else to comment on the apes? Because we're going on to May 17th, and I think we both know what's going to do pretty odd.
Yeah,
I cannot wait to talk about this in a second. Tough one. We're talking about
because of what's coming up on the 17th, because of there's 4 major releases coming out on the 17th, but none of them are expected to do as well as possibly Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes does in the second weekend. If is the big one here. This is Paramount. This is Ryan Reynolds. This is John Krasinski directing it. There's a lot of stars in this thing, but at CinemaCon, I have to tell you, and you probably heard this.
I heard it too.
It did not play very well. It's got sort of golf claps when they showed this extended trailer. The humor's just a little off. And even though Ryan Reynolds is in it, and Ryan Reynolds is a huge star, this plays to younger families and younger audiences in a way that, say, Pixar does not, where they get a 4-quadrant. They're going to get the adults. They're going to get the kids. This really feels like it's only going to get the kids. And if that's the case, Paramount only has 2 films this summer between this and A Quiet Place Day One. They have everything put into this thing. And if it doesn't hit opening weekend, guess what, guys? There's another film, Garfield, the movie, opening the week after. And that is going to take a lot of its momentum away.
Concern.
Yeah. So there's a lot stacked up against Paramount's if here. Again, it's not an IP it kind of seems like one. They want you to make you think that it's one. Like I kind of remember. Nope, I've never seen these guys before. These are imaginary friends, but they're not your friends. They're not my friends.
They're neither our friends.
Yeah,
they're neither our friends.
I feel like this is one of the toughest sells of the summer. We all know that kids movies hold on at the box office better than any other genre. Well, you look what happened with Kung Fu Panda 4. It's still making money. So that's the one thing it has going for it, is that there hasn't been a kids movie since Kung Fu Panda 4. So maybe audiences show up, but if they don't, they're going to show up to Garfield the week after. This is a tough sell for Paramount. You
know what the problem is with this movie release wise? They could have put this in April, and I think it would have done just fine.
Absolutely. That's a great call, Danny. The thing is, even Ryan Reynolds seems subdued. You know, we're used to Ryan Reynolds dropping F-bombs, saying what he wants. You can tell his tongue is tied here. This is a PG-rated film. I think it might be PG-13. I can't remember.
It's actually PG, I'm sure. It's nothing
PG on here.
It's
and
nothing
if that's the case,
oh, did you? I think you were cutting a bit. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, it's a tough sell. Oh, okay. I was cutting off. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, you have 3 other films. You got Lionsgate Strangers Chapter 1, a horror film, moving in.
Yeah.
And you have Focus Features Back to Black, which is Amy Winehouse's documentary, or not a documentary, biopic. And then you have this film from Neon called Babes, which is kind of trying to be an indie Bridesmaids. So there's a lot of films being released this weekend. And that's another thing that's another problem that IF's going to have, is that there's just a lot in the marketplace.
Yeah, and I think Planet of the Apes is going to soak it in well second weekend, especially if it gets good word on this film, which I think it will, considering the fact. All right, so If should have came out April, because you also got a lot of horror movies, and I feel like If could have... We never had any kids movies since Kung Fu Panda, so that could have played just well for the very first weeks of April. So
absolutely.
There goes Paramount's messed up part, which, by the way, they're my favorite studio since 2022. So, hey, I'm not downing what they're doing just because of one movie, though. I'm sure they'll do fine with another film, which we'll get to like for June. But
absolutely.
All right, let's go ahead and get to. I'm excited. May 24th. Do you want to discuss Anya Taylor-Joy's Furiosa, or you want to talk about Garfield first?
No. Let's move on to the big picture here. Yeah, this is the most visually compelling film of the summer. Of this, there is no doubt. George Miller does not F around. When he makes a film, he goes balls deep. And this movie, it just looks like an eyeball blaster. Your eyeballs are going to explode when you watch this. You're going to need to watch it 2 or 3 times. And I know the first one didn't make a lot of money, even though it should have. But God damn, that film has been on HBO Max. Like, people love watching that Fury Road. And I just hope that this movie opens with what we've seen in the past, when a film sort of finds its way, not at the box office, but afterwards, like it used to do when it came out on DVD. And now they come out on streaming and they just play over and over and over. And I feel like that's Fury Road. And so Furiosa will hopefully benefit from that. And everybody will want to go see this. Chris Hemsworth and Anya Taylor-Joy. I know they haven't been huge box office stars, but they are not the stars of this anyways. George Miller is the star. The action is the star. This is popcorn filmmaking at its highest point, right? I mean, Furiosa, in my mind, I wish, God, it would be so great if it could open at 100 million. I don't think it's possible.
I don't think so either, because it's R-rated. We got the word. Yeah. We got the word. It's rated R. Yeah.
Exactly. But if it can just open, like, I believe what the last one opened in the 60s. I believe it opened in the 60s. Something. Like
I didn't see that. I didn't see Fury Road either, but something tells me I have to see it, because I hope it's on a big screen again before Furiosa.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Fury Road only opened at 45 million. I was thinking, adjusted for inflation, it almost made 60. So what would be really cool if this thing opened at 60 million? It is over the Memorial Day weekend. It is a holiday weekend. It does have to compete with the Garfield movie. And however, like we said, if Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes just kills it in terms of word of mouth, it's going to still be a major factor over Memorial Day weekend. So Furiosa does have a couple things working against it, but it also has a lot of things working for it. In that
it's gonna get the IMAXs too. Don't forget the IMAX and the PLFs is gonna be also the draws to these blockbusters this summer.
Absolutely, Fury Road topped out at 369 million worldwide. They need this thing to hit like 500 worldwide. So hopefully the international audience is also on board, because this is sort of an art film, action film, you know, and obviously. European audiences, Asian audiences, they appreciate that a little more. We'll see if China's on board for this thing. Maybe it gets a Chinese release. The Middle Kingdom could propel this to new heights as well.
Oh, yeah. All right. But yeah, I'm excited for Furiosa for sure. Garfield, let's a little touch base on it. Chris Pratt is the star voicing the iconic mascot of Cat himself. We see him did with Mario last season, made $1 billion. So is he still a draw regardless to like his voicing? Because I know voicing behind stars isn't like idea of like being an actual in person, but this is like a name being recognized. So is it still gonna like propel the star to this that weekend?
Yeah, I think they chose the best person they could. If you think of go back to 2004, 2006, that's when Garfield and the sequel opened. They had Bill Murray in the title role, and Bill Murray was a huge draw for that film in the same way that I think Chris Pratt will be a big draw for this film. This could surprise. This is the one film Sony has that I think, honestly, this film could make over $100 million if it plays its part right, if it's pretty good. You know, this is like the, I believe Garfield's a kitten in this one. I don't know if he grows up really fast or how that works, because they did not have a presentation. Sony did not have a presentation at CinemaCon.
Sony's are being scaredy cats right now. That's for sure. It's
exactly.
It's pretty
Even though they have 10 films coming out this summer. They have more films than any other studio, but decided to skip CinemaCon for some reason. Anyway, can't harp on them too much. Hey, it's about the films that they put out, and hopefully this has good word of mouth. If it does, like I said, if does not connect with the audiences, it's the Garfield movie that is going to play for a while, because it will be the only family film until Inside Out 2 opens in mid-June. So that's almost, that's about 3 weeks, 4 weekends of grosses that could propel Garfield to 100 mil.
Oh, yeah. I think Garfield is going to win this Memorial weekend for sure. I don't see why not. The rats are looking for Star for cheese, a fresher ideal cheese than If.
Yeah.
And look, Furiosa is going to play like an event, but it's going to be like relying on PLF. So I feel like, yeah, we'll see where this stands. I mean, I'm excited, though, more than Garfield. I mean, I'm obviously going to see Furiosa more than Garfield.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah.
I'm into Furiosa, and I understand Garfield's kids are going to just swarm on that cheese and just swallow it up for that weekend.
And that's a good 1-2 punch for Memorial Day. Obviously, like we talked about, there's no Barbenheimer. There's no place where 2 original films are just going to blow up. We got a reboot here. We got a sequel, but it should be a good time for audiences.
Totally.
And they have the next weekend basically all to themselves. We could kind of talk about what's happening on the 31st, but there's not a lot happening.
Okay, pretty
much the major studios took that weekend off.
So May 24th is not the final weekend of May. It'll just be okay.
We got May 31st, and Disney's putting out The Young Woman in the Sea. This is that Daisy Ridley film, but they're only going limited release. They're going to let word of mouth play. They're hoping it turns into the next Boys on the Boat. We'll see about that. Crunchyroll has a film coming out about volleyball called The Dumpster Battle. I think it's called IQ. I don't even know how to pronounce that, but we saw a little bit of that at CinemaCon. That is a hardcore Crunchyroll film that's going to probably open like we saw previously when Spy X Family Code White opened, and that opened at what, 5 million. So this is not a big weekend. Bleecker Street has a film called Ezra with Robert De Niro coming out. These are very small films opening in the middle of summer. That means, like you said, that's a lot of cheese for Garfield and Furiosa that second weekend.
I think May 31st will benefit for both these movies and Planet of the Apes, if the word kicks in, and The Fall Guy. So I think it just gets like a major relaxation vacation for major studios releasing other films, and let the other films kick on May 31st to like build up and just get business flowing, you know? So I think this is ideally a great thing. May 31st is nothing big.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to June. Anything else to comment on May? Because I think what's going to be bigger that month, and my God, I'm going to probably just say it. I think Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes might be the biggest movie of that month.
You nailed it.
I think there's nothing to look. Not just because I say it doesn't mean the rest of the films are going to flop. Of course not. I think the biggest of that domestically, if we're talking, is Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Worldwide, it might be Furiosa. We'll just see how international audiences respond to that. But those are your top two, and Garfield will probably be that surprise movie. You know, that does better than you think. And you know what? There's a chance that if connects with the audiences, I mean, Ryan Reynolds is a huge, huge star. So there's a chance that he could pull 100 million out of this thing. And if that's the case, you know, I'll eat my words. You know,
I'll eat my words too.
but
we'll all be our words in the BO boys. We'll
exactly.
All our words.
As it stands now, that is just looking very, sorry about this, iffy. Yes, very iffy
indeed. All right. Well, let's look at June 7th, and it's very iffy. And look, time to get very serious on June 7th. Listen.
Yeah.
Sony obviously skipped CinemaCon, and this is a film coming out on June 7th, a sequel. And look, it's not just any sequel. It's an IP sequel that, look, it's been getting great buzz. It's been popular among IPs of blockbusters. And it's coming back with a actor who's got into very serious, iffy, controversial back at the Oscars in 2022. And I'm sorry to, like, even my family, one of my dad, my brother, may be excited about this film. Look, I'm not growing up with these movies. I'm not. And this controversial with this actor changed my entire viewing point on him.
Yeah.
It's so sad to see him go down. And not only he won an Oscar, but he fucked himself at the same time. He's going on a limb to gamble his own sequel with another Bad Boys installment. And ladies and gentlemen, that sequel is coming out after all. And I cannot believe they're really rolling this film this summer. To my surprise, Bad Boys Ride or Die is coming out June 7th. Oh, let's talk about it here. Look, what Will Smith did was very controversially disgusting, very disgraceful, and horrific among his fan base. It's terrible. He lost all of his fan base. And, you know, I asked a couple people I know, I asked a couple random people like a week ago. And I asked them, are you guys excited for Bad Boys Ride or Die? And they told me that one's going to suck because... And I asked them, is it because of Will Smith? And they were like, yeah. Because they know what happened with him. They know what he did. What he did could have been a settling private debate with Chris Rock. And I know what Chris Rock did was terrible, but let's just say it made Will Smith sensitive to go on stage and give him the pitiful Wario F-tilt slap from Super Smash Brothers. And that wasn't even a sketch. That was a real thing. And that wasn't even a sound effect. That was real. And oh my God, I'm losing words.
Well,
this is so pitiful. Everyone is literally upset what he did. And it's just damning. Oh my God.
Well,
oh my
God.
God.
I'll tell you what, like, this is the most you've said about a single topic. And Danny, I don't disagree with you. It was upsetting on a lot of levels. And it wasn't even it was like negative entertainment. You're watching this and you're just like, what is happening here? You're watching someone step out of who we think he is and into this very violent person in reality. This is not a movie. This is not a setup. It's not a joke. This is a troubled man, you know, and we're going to put him back into this Hollywood system that made him like this. It's just on every level, it feels wrong, right? Like it just feels like he didn't, and I don't know him personally. I don't know.
I don't know much either.
Personally.
I mean,
but I know if that were me in that situation, I would want to take some time away from this.
Me too.
For a while. He's been,
too.
Since he was the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I mean, he's been in entertainment since he was a teenager, and obviously things were not going well for him that night, you know, or in his life at that time. But the only way Bad Boys Ride or Die was going to work is if Chris Rock was in it with him and they were buddies in it, and they buried the hatchet, right?
They buried the hatchet, yeah.
Yeah, and if they were really going to do that, and he would apologize, because I never felt like he really even apologized to Chris Rock for this. Chris Rock went on tour and badmouthed Will Smith. I mean, it just, the chasm between them got wider and wider. They never really buried it. So you're right. Most people that I know, and I grew up with these films, and I loved the first two especially, and it was nice to have that third one because it felt like you're kind of seeing Will Smith return in a way that he did. I mean, this is Mr. Box Office. This is Mr. 4th of July. He was summer movies at one point with Independence Day, Wild Wild West, Men in Black. He was the entire industry in the summer. They built the summer around Will Smith. And that is not the case anymore. And I think like the BO boys and I discussed, this is going to do, it'll be lucky to do half the business of Bad Boys 3. People just, I don't think they want this film. The only thing that it has going for it, like we talk about, is that it has a 2-week window between Garfield and Furiosa, which open on Memorial Day. This opens 2 weeks after that. One interesting thing that just happened today is Warner Brothers through Night Shyamalan's film, The Watchers. This is his daughter Ishana's film.
Yeah,
they put this back on June 7th. So
yeah, I know. I just find it out. So they moved it up to against Bad Boys.
So it's opening against Bad Boys, which is, I think, honestly, it's a great move. It is
great counter. Good counter for that.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal move because The Watchers. We saw a preview at CinemaCon. I think the trailer is out there now. It's good. It looks damn good. It looks like a chip off the old Blockbuster, if we're being honest. Like, her movie is going to play bigger than I think her dad's movie, The Trap, this summer.
Oh, yeah. I think we'll get to that in a bit, but yeah,
we'll
you're right.
The Trap, but The Watchers looks really, really good. It looks like classic Shyamalan. And honestly, this is a good place. This could be it's not going to upset Bad Boys. Bad Boys is still going to make more than The Watchers that opening weekend, but we're going to get a real test for where the audience is and how they feel about Will Smith. This is going to be very eye-opening for the entire industry.
Oh yeah, you're right. We'll see if we'll see if the man of legend, Will Smith, and I'm referring to I Am Legend. It's actually one of my favorite films of his.
Yeah.
If he's still the legend, or if he's now officially the iffy star power.
Yeah,
I've been saving that a little bit, but yeah.
No, but it's true. You know, it's a sad tale that is old as time. How Hollywood builds you up and then cuts you down. The most sad thing about this is it's mostly his own doing. Like, he could have prevented that. All he had to do is not go on stage. Someone just had to pull him off and not do what he did. And I don't know. These kind of things live in infamy. And it'll be very interesting to see if audiences can forgive him for that.
We will see.
You know, we all do stupid stuff in our life. It's just that we don't do it on camera in front of.
Yeah, exactly. This is live television, right? He did on it. This is a huge deal.
And that's the upsetting part for sure.
I think it makes 30 million under that. And that's my prediction. 30.
Man, the last one opened at 62, so that might be right on target. I'll say 31 million. I'm going to cut that thing in half. In fact, I'll probably give it 35 million. That's a decent sized number, but it's not going to have any hold. It is not going to have any legs.
Because we're going to go straight to June 14th, and this is a serious test. Disney anime movies always have a disarray problems. Not quality, but how the anime movies were treated back when Bob Chapek was in the building of Disney's. This is an IP sequel they got left to test, and this is going straight to full theatrical. And I'd be so damned if the effects of Bob Chapek putting these movies into just dumping straight in during COVID times when they're not been given a chance. I'd be so damn surprised if this IP sequel doesn't do business what's meant to do, and I actually have hopes for it. I'm actually excited to see that too, for that fact. Tied out too, with Pixar on top of that. And you know, Pixar hasn't been giving insane change. I know we've seen Elemental last year. That did pretty okay. It actually had insane legs, and I thought, which is good. Yeah. So, and then you got Wish last year in Thanksgiving. That was a surprising failed. I'm really surprised it failed. I don't know if it's just quality or maybe it's just how anime movies were treated wise.
Yeah, it's tough to say about Wish, but we know this. Disney does sequels better than anybody. Inside Out 2, they played 30 minutes of this thing at CinemaCon. It slayed audiences. There was laughter. It was like laughter that I heard echoed from decades ago when Toy Story and Toy Story 2 and 3 came out. This feels like a very real return to form. There's no agenda here. It's just, let's make a really goddamn good sequel. And that's what they did with Inside Out 2. You can tell. It's talks about emotions of a teenager, which we all know very well. Teenagers are crazy and they have a lot of different emotions. And it looks like they're dealing with that directly, but in a very funny way. Let's remember Inside Out, the first one back in 2015 opened with $90 million. You know, that for an original film to open with that's crazy. So I can't, I mean, it would be great if Inside Out 2 opened at that number. That would mean, hey, Pixar's back. All is forgiven. I'm thinking closer somewhere in the 70s for this thing. But again, with superior legs throughout the summer. This thing's going to play all summer long.
As an IP in the very first one from 2015, I think it still has to carry. This IP sequel has to be remembered to see on the big screen. It's not like families are going to just be still conditioned and wait. Because that'd be still fucked up. That'd be still fucked up.
Yeah. No, this is middle of summer. Kids are out of school. You're opening June 14th.
This is right at the start of summer.
Yeah,
no
everybody's
school.
Gonna want to see
Kids
this.
are out of school now. Yeah. I'm expecting it to explode that weekend. I'm going to go 83.
Yeah.
And still under the first one, but it's going to have insane legs. And question is, will this be $1 billion? You guys were discussing on this. The first one was nearly $1 billion. It was like, what, 700 or 900?
This thing was 858 million worldwide. So a great number. If we adjust for inflation, this is over $1 billion. So
I'm going to go for $1 billion.
If it sells the same number of tickets, it hits $1 billion.
I'd think so. I'm totally debating this will be $1 billion. I have no issue. Why or why not? There's no way Inside Out 2 would not just do business for the sake of a sequel and an IP that they have for Pixar and a huge test. So I'm excited to see this. I'm excited to see how will kids react and how will they come out. And hopefully parents, families are dragged now to anime movies to big screens and not wait for them to be on dumping streaming. Still, that'd be pretty damning. So we see what Elemental did last year. It's still okay. And we're going to see what Inside Out does. One way to find out.
And it, it has it. The other thing it has going for it is that there are no big films opening the weekend after. So on the first day of summer, 6/21, you have films like Bike Riders. You have Searchlight's Kind of Kindness and A24's Janet Planet. These are indie films. Make no mistake. I know that Austin Butler and Jodie Comer are in this Jeff Nichols film, and as well as Tom Hardy, called The Bike Riders. but it's not going to compete with the summers. You know, if that opened in the teens, that would be a great number. It might open lower than that because Inside Out 2 is going to, you know, like you said, maybe it opens at 70, 80, 90. That second weekend is going to be massive. It's going to still get like 50, $60 million that second weekend. That's what we're going to be talking about.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a little glitch and a little fallout, but this is part of the editing here, so we're going to leave right after this part where Jeff completely almost froze, but fuck it. We're still going live. Okay, so you were saying about the bike riders on June 21st, and Inside Out 2 could actually end up swallowing it by word if it gets fuzzy, and if it's kids coming out. You know, it's got like an amazing week, a second week following ahead, so yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those films that's going to play so well to families. School's out for summer. Hell yeah. Inside Out just rolls along, you know, until Despicable Me opens over the 4th of July weekend. But what I was saying, that last weekend in June, we got a Quiet Place Day One.
I'm excited.
I'm
so excited.
I think everybody is. I think this is a film. You've set it in New York now. It sets the stage for something much bigger than the first two. So I think if we're talking about a breakout threequel, even though this is a prequel, it is the third Quiet Place movie. This thing is going to be huge. This thing.
There's no Emily Blunt in this or John Krasinski directing, but he's producing though, right?
Yeah, he produces, and it looks like a banger. This thing is going to knock it out of the park.
This looks like a banger that I thought. I mean, hey, this looks like an apocalyptic horror movie. I love it. I'm loving this setting right now than the other two. So this feels exciting. The question is, Lupita Nyong is in this as the lead. And Joseph Quinn, I heard he's about to get some star going forward. It's exciting. But how would these two stars compare to Emily Blunt from the last two films? What's their star power, and will there be many attractions going forward to these casts?
Well, I think as we all know, I mean, it's rare for a horror film to have big names in it, right? It just is. And so John Krasinski and Emily Blunt in A Quiet Place is sort of actually the outlier, you know? So this actually brings the horror, the monsters, these aliens to the forefront. New York City is the main character here. This is what people want to see. So, you know, and these are very good actors that you're talking about too. So as you can see from the trailer, this is gonna kill it. It doesn't even matter who stars in it. This is the origin of Quiet Place. This is what the people have been wanting to see since the beginning of this franchise. So this opening with Kevin Costner's Horizon, an American Saga, Chapter 1, that same weekend, I think both these films are going to do very well for themselves.
I'm concerned on Horizon American Saga, though. Is it based on anything, or is it just like attractional? Because I don't find this film a little interesting. But I will say, this could play very good for adults that are looking for, like, let's say, I can't think of something in my head that besides saying Maverick for like generational audiences. I'm thinking like older audiences for this type of movie. I think it will just do fine. I mean, for that adult-oriented film, you know. And this is This is the first part also, and the second part is in August. All right, keep going. Sorry about that.
So if you think about Clint Eastwood and Unforgiven, and you think about Kevin Costner 20 years ago did a film called Open Range, also a Western, adjusted for inflation, that almost did 100 million. So it's not like Kevin Costner hasn't been here before. Kevin Costner also has been probably hotter than he's ever been since the 90s. Yeah, we're going back a ways with this thing. But because of Yellowstone on Paramount Plus and Peacock, he really has captured that older audiences, those oldsters, that demographic. The boomers will follow him to the end of the earth. This thing is going to play, I think, very well to those older audiences, and maybe get some new fans too. Those that have really appreciated and enjoyed Yellowstone might show up for this. There is a chance though that this thing fails, and if it does,
I literally think so.
Yeah, and if it does, you know, Warner Brothers released a little film you may or may not have heard of called The Postman. The Postman was also this 3-hour apocalyptic epic, which starred Kevin Costner and directed by delivering mail in a post-apocalyptic world. As you can guess, at 3 hours, this film did not play well. It cost a lot of money to make. It made $17 million, I think, domestically. It was a huge bomb. A lot of people like to talk about Waterworld being a bomb. It was nothing compared to what.
When did that film came out?
The Postman came out, I believe, in 97, 98, something like that.
I have to look that up.
Yeah. I can't remember if I have it in my notes here or not. No, I just have open range stuff. But again, that is the chance. But again, like at that time, Kevin Costner was coming off Waterworld, which wasn't critically acclaimed, wasn't well received, even though the people that liked it really liked it, even though I love the film now personally. I think it's a great action epic that they just don't make anymore. But The Postman was nothing like that. It just was not a great film. This really captures what Kevin Costner has been good at. If you followed his career, Silverado, if you followed Dances with Wolves, obviously won the Best Picture back in the day. This is him setting foot in that same territory. So I could be swayed either way here, but I feel like because Warner Brothers has already agreed to release 2 of these films in one summer, they got something here. I got to believe that.
Here's what I'll say. I say the first part is still going to be swarmed, but if the word on this movie is good and the second part comes, I think the second part could do way better than the first part. And I know it's not like a separate films. They're just like in one part. They're like one event film and like,
yeah, in 2 parts.
I mean, I never see that before. I never see like a film being in one, but split into parts for different releases. It's not like, it's like The Matrix where the second Matrix came out in like that May of like 2004 or something. Was that in 2004 or was it, could I be wrong?
Yeah, I think you're right. It was it May and the other one came out in November, something
and
like
that? Yeah, exactly. It's not like it's that. I mean, there are 2 separate films and there are 2 sequels.
Yeah.
Horizon, for what I understood, is like the whole movie, but split into parts. So
yeah,
I think the second part could do just better than the first part if it does well received. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely.
We shall see. Ready to go to July because I think it's kicking high well. We got 3 blockbuster picks. I'm excited for one of them. And man, let's just go to July 3rd if that's the release, correct?
Yeah.
Despicable Me 4, huge Despicable Me fan since I was 10.
Yes.
I'm excited for another Despicable Me IP coming back. We had Minions in 2022, made nearly $1 billion. And my prediction is it's gonna the fourth one's gonna make $1 billion like the third one. I think it will for the sake how this IP is going strong. Steve Carell is back again, and the Elimination Era is just booming. We've seen Sing 2, we've seen the Mario Brothers, we've seen Migration. We're now in another well-known IP coming back, and that is Despicable Me 4. I'm really excited for this film. What is your prediction analyst is going forward, Jeff?
I mean, we're talking about a $4.6 billion franchise between those 5 films. This is the 6th film when you include the 2 Minions films.
Yes.
Yeah, this is, I mean, yeah, what can you say? The shit is bananas. This thing could be the #1 movie worldwide. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it was. And it also may be the only film to hit $1 billion worldwide. Sorry about that, Deadpool and Wolverine fans. It's just the fact is people even outside of the US and Canada, the domestic range, they love this film. They love these characters. And the fact is it basically has one of the biggest weekends all to itself. And it's going to play not only through July, it's going to play through August. So yeah, you're right, Danny. This thing.
That's the only kids movie. That's the only kids movie going out to like August. So this is still going to have legs.
Absolutely.
Inside Out 2 will play a lot to like late July, and it gets on Disney Plus. I mean,
yeah. If only one film hits $1 billion, it is this one probably. I hope that we get 3 films that hit $1 billion, maybe 4. But again, we're talking about July, and we're talking about, remember a little film called Barbenheimer. It was July that saved the summer. If things aren't going well this summer, as we get into May and June, it is July again that is going to save the summer. Despicable Me 4, Twisters, and Deadpool and Wolverine. Those films, those 3 films, all have a chance to hit $1 billion worldwide, I think.
Just a little quick question. So when Minions came out in 2022, there was like a slight meme that many people were dressed up occasionally, like in suits. Are we gonna see that again with Despicable Me 4? Because I might as well join the wave of that. I mean,
Yeah,
I think it looks hype for that. I mean, the way I see people dressing up and just wear suits, going to Minions. I mean, I don't know where that meme came from, but this looks exciting. Well, we get to see that again. Okay, no?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean, no, honestly, that's what fandom is all about. That's what makes summer movie going fun. You know, remember when Pirates of the Caribbean came out, people were dressing up as pirates to go to every one of those movies. They loved it. You know, that's part of the fun. Minions brings that sort of fun to it. And so, you know, out of all the movies this summer, this one just screams fun. It screams, I got to go see this thing, right? You scream about movies. I scream about movies. This is the one that most audiences scream about, right? This is it.
Yes, totally. So we're gonna see people dressing up like I ask, like the question. We're gonna see people dressed in suit and ties. No?
Oh yeah.
I hope it's true. I might as well do it for the sake of it. We'll see.
Yeah, you got to do it. You got to do it.
I will. Maybe I'll post up for that. All right. Going to Twisters, July 19th. Look, I feel like this is like a legacy. Look, my question is this like a legacy sequel? I think it is because of the name and how much of a hit it was. And you got the star of support of Top Gun, Glenn Powell, coming off from that film, coming off of Anyone But You, insane hit. And I think we're going to get to see another star power test if Glenn Powell is the star. You also got Daisy Jones Egger, right? That Daisy Jones Egger? Okay. From The Crawdads, which came out in 2022. Sleeping hit. So now you got these 2 leads into this sequel, and it's not even like a actual sequel. It's a standalone sequel with the S at the end as a plural. And you're going to get 2 twisters in this. 2 tornado twisters. Looks hype. Looks insane. Wow. Weezowie. I'm actually looking forward to Twisters. And I was almost going to think it's a failure, but I don't think it will. Even though it goes against Deadpool next week, the following week. But yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
There are a couple things that I love about this film. The first, remember, if you were there, you probably weren't, but
I wasn't.
I was around in 1996, and the same thing that happened that summer. This is the summer when ID4 came out. This is Independence Day. This is Will Smith, Mr. Box Office. That was the biggest film of the summer. Guess what was number 2? Twisters. It was,
My God.
Twister was number 2 that summer, but nobody thought it was going to be. It came out of nowhere, and because there's a flying cow in the trailer, everybody's like, holy shit, I got to go see this film on the biggest screen possible. And IMAX and PLFs weren't even really a thing there. They were around, but they were not a thing like they are now. So now you're bringing this back when IMAX and PLFs are all the rage. Guess what? This film in particular is going to play very well on those big screens. Even if Deadpool and Wolverine take it over the weekend after, guess what? Later in August, Twisters is, I guarantee Twisters is going to get back on IMAX. It's going to be back in those PLFs because people will want to see this film. These Twisters, the dual tornadoes, they will want to see them on the big screen. Those are the stars. The CGI is the star of this film. And that's the same case as it was back in the day when Helen Hunt starred in this, and there was a whole bunch of nobodies. Although a lot of those actors became somebodies because of how successful Twister was. And Glenn Powell, are you kidding me? Like you said,
yeah, I was going to say, is he going to be a star going forward in this movie? Because I think, okay, good. Because I think he's a star.
Yeah, he is going to be the next Tom Cruise after this movie. I mean,
oh, totally.
That is how big Glenn Powell could get. Obviously, they'll probably do Top Gun 3. Glenn Powell, sorry, but he will probably be your star moving forward. That's the way it goes. He has more heat than anybody else out of that film, maybe outside of Tom Cruise. Tom will be back, but I think this will be handing it over to Glenn Powell.
Totally.
Twisters should solidify that.
Oh man, I cannot wait. And look, this costs $200 million to make. If correctly, this costs $200 million. I think internationals could do big for this movie, if anything, and we will see where it goes and where it stands. This is a property belonged to Warner Brothers before, and then now Universal takes it over domestically, but Warner Brothers is still onto that internationally. So
exactly,
what film does it really belong to? I think Warner Brothers still owns that IP, don't you think?
Yeah, and that's beautiful that two studios are working together because they believe in this IP so much, and they're right. It has been too long. Everybody loves to follow tornadoes in the summer. Like you turn on the Weather Channel or CNN or something. Oh man, you got to see what's happening with this twister in Oklahoma, or what's happening in Florida with these massive storms that are coming in. People love to tune into that, and I'm telling you, this isn't a phenomenon that was so big back in 1996. You're going to see the summer of 24 may end up belonging to Twisters. We may not be talking about DM4. We may not be talking about Deadpool and Wolverine by the end of the summer. We may be saying, hey, Twisters is the #1 film of the summer. It's a possibility. It's a real possibility.
Oh, yeah. All right. Let's get on to the big main course of July 26th. Look, ladies and gentlemen, this is a huge test. Comic book movies have been slumped all over. We've been seeing that a lot of times throughout last year, except Guardians and Spider-Verse were the only infamous ones surviving that. The Flash failed. The Marvels failed. Madam Web was to be expected to fail, of course, and not look good. And we haven't had any comic book movies since Madam Web. It's long months enough to summer with 2 IP S-tier characters. When I say S-tier, the top tier S-tier Marvel characters. You're not basically calling it another X-Men. You're not basically calling another solo Deadpool. You're seeing these two together come to one. How exciting. It's not Deadpool 3. It's Deadpool and Wolverine. We're getting this July 26th. Huge test. Big 2 iconic character S-tier stars. Ryan Reynolds takes the seat again as the one and only Deadpool. Hugh Jackman returns as the iconic X-Men leader himself, Wolverine. And my God, did you see the latest trailer, Jeff? Because I think I'm turned on to that song.
Yeah.
We both may not be heroes, but we both knew, no, Marvel's the hero saving grace for this film. This is all they got if it's going to change and alter the course of history going forward. All right, Jeff.
This is, I mean, how can you not be excited for this? Not only the biggest comic book movie, it really, let's be honest, it's the only comic book movie for most people this summer. And you're taking Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds to a place that we never thought we'd go, them together in a film. Like Wolverine was dead. He was gone. But like Logan was it, right? That was it. And Logan actually was the best performing Wolverine film. And that's the last time we saw Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. So this is like a bonus, right? This is a bonus feature for fans. And there's been a lot of talk about fan service. What the fuck, man? Of course it's fan service because it's what the people want. Why wouldn't Disney give them what they want?
People have been waiting for Deadpool 3, and now they got something better than just a solo Deadpool.
So
makes sense, right?
Call it fan service if you must, but that means Disney's doing it absolutely right. And they're also delivering this film. It's a hard R-rated film, which is something that we never thought we'd see Disney ever produce, but they did. This is a Disney film. It's not a Fox film. It's not a 20th century film. This has the Disney label on an R-rated, hard film, making fun of Disney and Fox in the process.
And the best part is Disney is finally putting their big boy pants on to make an R-rated Deadpool on their property. It's now or never.
Yeah.
They have to put their big boy pants on and stop making or relying on families. This is it. We're getting an R-rated comic book by Disney. We're also getting an Alien R-rated from Disney's Fox. But speaking of that, the most important part value is a Disney comic book Marvel character. Deadpool's now into Disney in that territory with Fox. You're now getting an R-rated comic book. I mean, who's not excited for that?
Yeah, this is
a return.
This is why, those other two films topped out at about 780 million worldwide, and that was back in 2016 and 2018. Adjusted for inflation, I'll say it again, these almost hit $1 billion. So it is possible with the addition of Wolverine, even though it's R-rated, we could be looking at the only other R-rated comic book movie that hit $1 billion is Joker, right? This could hit Joker territory.
I'm the same thing. I'm thinking the same thing, but I think it's going to pass over Joker. And Joker 2 could end up being in the same territory again.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Deadpool and Wolverine is going to make that. I literally called when they got Wolverine back this movie. I'd say it's going to make $1 billion because of these IPs, because of Wolverine coming back. This is what people would want to see Hugh Jackman come back for this character. And there it is.
Yeah, and I think people have been I think there's a lot of haters for Marvel and Disney online, but I don't think the general audiences really buy into that much about what's going on behind the scenes. They just want to see a good film. This looks like a good film. It looks like a film. And the best thing about Disney doing an R-rated Deadpool and Wolverine is that is the promise. Then it's like they gave us a promise that, guess what? The next X-Men series, it's going to be R-rated, and Disney's going to be okay with that. And that's where, if we're talking about the evolution of comic book movies, there's been a lot of exploration in the PG-13 realm. We have not explored as audiences the R-rated realm of comic books enough yet.
Blade is going to get an R rating for sure.
Yes, exactly.
Blade.
And I think that's where we need to go next, because that's the uncharted territory. There's a lot of interesting stuff to be done in the R-rated realm. So let's hope this is $1 billion hit, and let's just go there, man. Let's get our foot on the gas and let's go.
Let's go. Let's fucking go. That's what I'm gonna say.
Exactly.
Let's fucking go.
Exactly.
Best what's it called? Memo tagline of this movie. It is let's fucking go indeed. Yes.
LFG, right, baby. And that's how the summer goes, is going to be how that film goes. If that film does indeed hit $1 billion, if
this ends up being The Flash at this point, I mean, this is
you're right. If this somehow only did 500-600 million worldwide, we got problems. There are serious problems, and then we can actually begin to talk about superhero fatigue. But if this thing gets close to $1 billion, if we're talking about 750 million to $1 billion, that's about the right place for this film, I think.
We'll see. One way to find out. July 26th hits with Deadpool and Wolverine. I think it's going to be the biggest film this summer. Mark my words.
All right.
It is. August. Usually dead, but I think this is pretty decent. Decent August-sized month.
Yeah, it is decent. There's more films in August than any other month this summer. That doesn't mean it'll be the highest grossing month.
Yeah.
But you're right. There are some
I think one or two is going to do well. The rest are going to just slop it all over. Let's talk about August 2nd. Oh my God. It looks so cursed. The first time I see a poster and the first time I've seen a little of the trailer, it's so odd. It's so wrong. We got Harold and the Purple Crayon, which was supposed to come out last year. I thought it'd be an anime movie, but it's a hybrid live action.
Yeah.
Starring Zachary Levi. So I have no comment here, but what do you have to say on Harold the Purple Crayon going forward, Jeff?
I mean, if it even comes out, I think last year's summer preview, I previewed it because it was supposed to come out last summer. And then they just, at the last minute, they said, you know what, it's not coming out. And I don't think there's even a trailer out, is there?
There was.
There was,
but Sony chose to skip the presentation.
Okay.
Which is why we have not known this. And everybody isn't known to this trailer yet. It's still surprising.
So that's the thing. It's just there is a place for a kids movie in August, and Harold and the Purple Crayon is an IP that most families do know. So it's possible it does respectable business. I don't think it'll be as big as Garfield. But again, tough place to be without much advertising. We'll know more how much Sony believes in this in terms of how much advertising they're willing to spend in July.
It says based on a kid's book, so I think kids wouldn't want something next. Maybe they'll keep themselves occupied, dragging their parents to see this movie. I mean, of course.
Yeah, and it's going to be for young kids because guess what? Deadpool and Wolverine is still going to play. It's going to do buku bucks its second weekend, and that pretty much wipes out anything that stands in its way, including Harold and the Purple Crayon. It's only once we get into the second weekend of August with Borderlands, and I'm excited. I'm interested to hear your take on that because it is a film aimed at a much younger generation, obviously.
And video games, of course. There have been an event. Always the video game movies. Now, let me take on Borderlands. Now, look, as anyone isn't known to me, listen to my show. I am a huge video game correspondent. I am even holding up a PlayStation 5 controller. Look, I am a gamer, of course.
Yeah.
If you're on YouTube, if you're watching this, if you're not watching this on YouTube, look at the YouTube channel. I was holding up a PlayStation 5 controller, but my take is I'm a huge video game fan. I love games. They make me happy, but they also are value to movies. But they haven't been hits a lot throughout decades. And now we're in the era where video game movies are the events. Borderlands on the take of August 9th. That's the date of the movie?
Yeah.
Okay. I've been researching this film in terms of fan base. And look, I'm not a Borderlands fan. I never play the games, but I'm planning to dabble one this summer to get an understanding and inclusion of the hype. And my God, if you're a Borderlands fan, Jeff, or anyone listening, well, I'm assuming they will anyways, you be dead ass bitch about how terrible to me. Look, to the fan base, not to me. The fan base say this casting looks awful. But I never understand the idea. People don't understand the idea that that game was animated, M-rated, mature, and this is live action. Look, the castings may be hard to figure out, but look, the castings on this film: Kate Blanchett, Kevin Hart, Jamie Lee Curtis, Ariana Greenblatt, Jack Black to voice the robot. Look, to my surprise, I thought the casting looks interesting, a well take, but I understand some of the castings are older and they expect a young cast. And look, the value production on this movie looks very cool. It looks like the feel of Borderlands. I will say that. This looks very much like Borderlands and looks promising. The action looks promising, but the thing is, it's Lionsgate. It's so strange. I thought it would be Sony Pictures doing this movie, but instead, you got an interesting director who signed up to do this movie, Eli Roth, known for horror movies, and he's taken his project to the next level with a high-budget video game film like Borderlands. My take is this looks interesting, but the fan base of the IP may look distraught and might as well go check it out. But I think generally for the audiences, this looks like a Guardians of the Galaxy Suicide Squad mix-up. Yeah. Looks interesting. Yeah. I kind of like the concept where it's going. And look, I didn't play the series, but I think for what they're trying to do to bring audiences to clicking them, it looks interesting enough to vibe in with this Guardians, the Suicide Squad. I think Borderlands could just do just well this August, if anything. It looks bad or feels bad, but it's so good. Who knows? I think this looks fine.
That's the thing. It is probably the wildest swing of the summer. I'm not sure where this thing lands. It's hard to get a read on it. It is Lionsgate, who doesn't usually have a big summer movie. They're going all in and on this thing. They are going all in. And they also know if it doesn't work, they're going to throw out The Crow in a couple weeks after that. So you'll forget about how bad Borderlands bombed if it does. If it does, the other conclusion could be made that because it sold 3 billion copies of its games, that there are a lot of fans out there that will go check this out regardless. And if you get those hardcore fans and they start saying how much they liked it, it's possible you'll get good word of mouth. It's possible this turns into like a Guardians of the Galaxy type franchise. And that would be pretty cool if Lionsgate was able to lock something like that down. The other film that is opening that week is Colleen Hoover's It Ends With Us. You probably don't know anything about this film, but it is a huge best-selling romantic film. Like Crawdads, this thing could do some serious business. Blake Lively stars in this thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You know, so as much as we talk about how much hype there is for Borderlands, on the other side of it, in terms of the female demographics, this is the film they probably want to see. A lot of them want to see this summer. It could do some big business, and word of mouth could keep this thing going through October. I still believe that they should have put this out in June, because there is nothing like a summer romance. Plus, if Bad Boys nosedives and things go south, you want to lean onto something that's actually working. And that's probably,
we've been barely getting romance movies like that.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good thing they'll put this out in August. I don't think it'd be this bad, especially if it's low budgeted. They'll usually do fine. Yeah,
and I think that's going to be another surprise of August. Obviously, the week after that, we get into a fun film called Alien Romulus by
we're skipping a film, but let's go to that before we get to Aliens.
What are we skipping on the 9th?
I'm first of all, let me just throw a punchline real quick.
Yeah.
I'm sort of trapped. Are you trapped? Because
God,
I'm like
trapped.
somewhere trapped in the StreamYard, which we're recording this on a raw feed. But let me just say, we're gonna talk about Shyamalan's Trap. And look, I'm gonna just say this real quick. I'm not excited for another Shyamalan because Knock at a Cabin left bad taste in my mouth. And I mean, towards the third act, it was not twistful. It was too rushed. The only thing I liked about this film was just Dave Bautista delivering a powerhouse performance.
Yeah.
But Shyamalan's been inconsistent with these films ever since, like, how much he's been putting the work to these movies. And, like, they haven't been so twistfully eventful. And you know what I'm going to say about this film, Trap? They kind of spoil a little bit on the premise and not the idea, but I mean, who this character is played by Josh Hartnett and what this premise is. It's not the premise has been spoiled, but I'm saying what the idea going forward with this trailer. The trailer kind of spoiled a little bit on this twist.
Unless the daughter's the killer. Then you got something. Now, if he throws out another twist that the trailer doesn't see, that might be interesting. But I think you're right, Danny. I think it gives away a little too much, and it's just not that interesting. And like we talked about, I forgot about it because we're talking about Borderlands and It Ends With Us. That weekend's too crowded for this film. They should move the date. They really should. Warner Brothers should not be releasing The Trap on that date, but maybe they also know, hey, August is where we throw out some of the trash, and it's possible that they don't have much faith in this, that they maybe have more faith in the watchers than they do in The Trap. That's the kind of the reaction I got from CinemaCon. You know, people will talk about this. There are Shyamalan fans out there. I get it. But this film does not look like his best production value, his highest production value. It looks kind of cheap, honestly. And the premise is, honestly, I think it's kind of outplayed. You know, like I get it. But if you're going to give us that twist, let us discover it. Don't throw it in the trailer.
Exactly. I'm going to go on a limb and say that Watchers is probably going to be the most twistful that his daughter probably put out. Well, not put out. I think The Watcher is going to be more of a success to his daughter than his own movie. That's what's going to happen. And I feel like that's going to be just there. I'm guessing. So, all right. But now we're untrapped. Let's go on to Alien Romulus. Look, I'm happy. This is not go on Streamo like Prey. Prey, I was upset. It was on streaming back in 2022. Fede Alvarez is directing this, not Ridley Scott. No whatsoever. No Ridley Scott in this film to write, produce, or do anything whatsoever. I don't know if it's producing or not or some way, but he did see this movie and said it was fucking awesome.
He did. That's what he said. And Alien Covenant, a film that Ridley Scott did do, that opened with 36 million on its way to 240 million worldwide. That would be a great number for Romulus. The cool thing about this, if you follow Alien history and the lore. This is set between the first Alien film and the second
Oh
one.
yeah, I
James
think it's
Cameron did.
ideal not to make a sequel, but to make a prequel, like they did
Yeah.
with Saw X. It took place after the first and
Yeah.
before the second.
Exactly.
This is another take. I like it.
So you take it, it's between Ridley Scott's first one and James Cameron's second one. And that is a beautiful place to set an Alien film. Because a lot of people have been wondering, well, what the hell was going on between those films? How did we not know about these alien creatures? And how did we let it happen again? Maybe this will shed on some light on that. And if not, at least we have the aesthetics of a film set between Alien and Aliens, which is a great aesthetic. I know they used not a lot of CGI on this. This was all like real life production, something that I think major fans of this series have been wanting for a long time. It feels like we're back in the original place.
We'll see if the IP is back once it comes out. Because look, I'm going to be seeing it, and you saw a glimpse of it at CinemaCon. Looks bloody, I heard, and intense.
Yeah.
And look, I'm not a Gore Festa fan, but I'm excited to see this IP come back. And I do love the Predator series. Got me involved with Alien versus Predator was a thing. So
yeah,
I'm drawn into Alien a little bit, and I'm actually excited to see this sci-fi IP come back. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Fede Alvarez, I don't think he's going to do one bad bit. He did Don't Breathe. He did the Don't Breathe movies, were all hits. So now he's taking on this IP coming back. And I feel like this is going to be feastfully way what we can want for an Alien movie.
Yeah,
we shall see.
Yeah, and a film in the middle of summer, you want at the end of summer, you want a nice horror film like this to finish things off. It opens the same weekend as Horizon, an American Saga.
Part 2.
Chapter 2. Like we've said before, Danny, this all hinges on how good the first one does. It's hard to say if that first one was really well received and they left it on such a cliffhanger. This could possibly do better than the first one. And if the first one is a success, it probably will do better than the first one.
We'll leave it off to that and see where part 1 does. And part 2, we'll see the momentum of it. Anything else before we get to the final film of the summer? And no, Beetlejuice should not count as a summer just because it comes September 6th.
Yeah, we're so excited for that film.
Yeah. Maybe in the fall review, we'll obviously get hyped for it. But for now, let's talk about one last summer movie of August 31st. This was delayed in courtesy of, look, I think it's because the movie ended up being horrendous, but at the same time, it was a strike. You probably need Aaron Taylor Johnson to promote this all over. It's an R-rated Sony Spider-Man comic book character this time. But look, even if that's the case, look what Madam Web just did to us. It left us very devastated. How these movies are going with, especially comic books in general. That is the part where it damages not comic books in general, but the Sony Spider-Verse, Spider-Man universe.
Yeah.
This is where it's going to be left in the dust if all said and done.
This is the trilogy of terror. Morbius, Madam Web, and Kraven the Hunter. And Kraven the Hunter, if you've read the comic books, he's a great character. And they really did a disservice to him by the way they're portraying him. And I think if you can't appease the hardcore fans initially, you're going to have a really hard time getting anybody else interested. You got to appease the hardcores first, and then work your way to get those multiplex.
I think it did with the first trailer. We got the Red Band trailer, but then we haven't got anything since then.
Yeah, but the tone is wrong. It just is. It is the wrong tone. There is a great series, and if you check it out, where Kraven the Hunter actually kills Spider-Man. It's a 6-part. I believe it's a 6-part series, and he's in the black suit. And he actually kills Spider-Man. It is probably one of the best Spider-Man stories I've ever read personally. That's the story you need to do. That's what Kraven the Hunter should have been. This is something else. Audiences will ignore this. This is your typical Labor Day weekend where people just decide to go camping and roast s'mores and play in the water one last time instead of go to the movies. So this unfortunately is going to be a sour end to the season, because you also have The Crow. We didn't talk about this, but The Crow.
Oh, The Crow. Excuse me.
The weekend before. This is with Bill Skarsgård. We saw a little bit of this at CinemaCon. It doesn't do anything more than I think those straight-to-video sequels did. It doesn't look that great. It might do okay business, but it's certainly not like
Depends on
Brandon
the
Lee.
budget, though. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But Brandon Lee's The Crow is still the one that stands the test of time. That's an extraordinary film for its time period. And Brandon Lee took on that role with gusto. Unfortunately, he lost his life filming that. But he would have been a major star. I've always said that about Brandon Lee. That was the film that was going to make him a huge, huge Hollywood star. It seems like every Crow film after that has kind of been cursed.
Yeah, I'm not into The Crow by chance, and I kind of sort of skipped it because I kind of either both forgot it and I wasn't interested. But I mean, I don't know how the entire world sees it. I thought maybe, actually, you know what? I probably am wrong to see how to even guess how people react to this as Bill Skarsgård as the Crow. And yeah, you're right. Maybe the other guy is probably better than Bill himself. I mean, I can't I can't put my thumb to this. I just don't watch or understand the comic of the Crow very well.
Yeah, and so you're right. Like the Crow, Kraven the Hunter. Yes, they're superhero movies, but there is only one. There can be only one.
There can be only one. It's Deadpool and Wolverine. That's it. I think that's just the business of that summer, and it's just gonna be. And the other two ones are gonna be ignored.
Yeah, and so August is going to be hit or miss. There could, if Borderlands hits, that would be great for the industry. If it ends with us, the Colleen Hoover romance film hits, and Alien Romulus hit, it'll be a good August if all three of those films play big.
I'm going to guess these three films, and perhaps Harold and the Purple Crayon, if kids like it. I think all of them will be smooth sailing this August.
Yeah, if
you got the legs of Deadpool and Twisters, of course.
Yeah, exactly. And then American Saga Chapter 2. So there are some bright spots this summer, and there are some unknowns. And if those all succeed, this could end up being a pretty good summer for Hollywood. Obviously, 2025 is when everything is really rolling. We'll have just as many films out there probably as we did in 2019. So there will be no excuses. There are no excuses. We can have there's a lot of excuses that Hollywood could pull this year, and they probably will if things go south. But in 2025, I'm sorry, guys, no excuses anymore. This is Hollywood running at its full capacity.
And you got Thunderbolts kicking off next summer, too. That's
you got a Marvel film. Yeah, you got a Marvel film. So what more do you want, people?
Yep.
You got a John Wick spinoff. I mean,
yes. You also got, let me see. I'm trying to think here. You got a Mission Impossible 8 with no Barbenheimer in the way, which we're going to see that do well. Hell, I can't think of one other summer movie next year. I mean, God.
I mean,
it's going to be packed next year for sure.
You got Superman Legacy. DC is
yes.
Back in the
what
mix.
the fuck? Oh my God, I'm excited.
Yeah,
we're all excited for DC the reboot.
Yeah, you got the Black Phone 2. So the thing is, this is going to be a summer where Hollywood is going to get a pass. No matter what happens, they will either say, well, strike related, COVID related, we just didn't have enough product in the marketplace and we didn't have time to advertise. They will make these excuses if they do not succeed. Now, I just don't see that happening. Most of these films, the one good thing about this summer, maybe outside of If and Bad Boys, and I don't think those are going to fail spectacularly. They're not going to be huge bombs. They'll do decent. They won't do a lot. But they're not going to be considered like The Postman was, where it's just like, oh my God, they spent $200 million. It made like 15. I don't see any of those on the schedule, honestly. So all these films should do decent business. All we need is a couple, like we said, we need a couple to join the Billy Club. If we get 2-3 of these films in the Billy Club, this will be a success.
Oh, yeah. All right, well, that's the whole entire summer slate of August. And, man, what a jam-packed episode. But before we even end this off on a high note, I forgot to throw out, let's predict winners, losers, and sort of like which ones will make the $1 billion clubs. But let's just go on with the winners and losers. All right, so
okay,
I kind of forgot to throw this out. I don't know why. Screw me, but I already wrote them down completely on the winner's side. So
yeah, give it to us. Give it to us, Danny. What do you got?
Let's do it. All right. So I'm going from like low to high, depending on like the success. So here's what I'm going to go with. Number 13, winner, Tarot. Number 12, The Watchers. 11, I put this because I wasn't sure. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Unless people cares about this IP still. Number 10, Alien Romulus, Borderlands, Twisters, The Fall Guy, Garfield, Furiosa, Quiet Place Day 1, Inside Out 2, Despicable Me, and the number one biggest winner, I'm guessing, no doubt, is Deadpool and Wolverine. And
Yeah.
unless, look, you and I might have a settle to like bet ourselves. We get fooled once with The Flash last year, shame on us.
Yeah.
We get fooled with Deadpool and Wolverine. If I get you on next episode, not next episode, I'm saying, but the next future episode, we could punch ourselves in the face and just make ourselves.
But it wouldn't just be us punching ourselves in the face. It would be almost everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah, because everyone, we did a poll on.
Well, we'll punch ourselves in the face for everyone to see us.
Because we did a poll on the ERC box office, and I said, which film do you think will be the #1 worldwide film of the summer, the top grossing film? And overwhelmingly, it was Deadpool and Wolverine #1, Despicable Me 4 #2, Inside Out 2 #3, and Twisters #4. So that's what the majority of the people believe is going to happen. So, Danny, it won't just be us punching each other in the face and nuts. It will be everybody else, because let's be honest, the hype for this is Deadpool and Wolverine is the most hyped film of the summer. That doesn't always mean that it will be the top grossing, but it is certainly the most hyped. Ryan Reynolds himself said, watch out. You thought the Dune popcorn bucket was crazy? Wait till you see the Deadpool popcorn bucket. So it's one of those things where, listen, I was at CinemaCon and I found the people that were making these buckets, right? They could not tell me anything, even though they knew what this Deadpool bucket was, but they did show me the alien popcorn bucket, which they weren't supposed to, but it was this alien that attaches to your arm, right? And then it opens at the top. And so you have this alien basically on your arm that you're carrying around, which is going to be pretty cool too.
Like a watch or something.
Yeah, but it's obviously it's gigantic. Okay. Like it takes your elbow.
I wonder.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. But if you think about, Deadpool and Wolverine and all the things that Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are going to do, all the memes, all the little shorts that these guys are going to do because they have fun doing this stuff together. You're not going to get more for free publicity than you're going to get from those two guys. And that's just something that could carry this, like you said, to be the top grossing film of the summer.
That's right. Just to repeat the list again, in case if I missed one. Tyrod, Watchers, Planet of the Apes, Alien, Borderlands, Twisters, Fall Guy, Garfield, Furiosa, Quiet Place, Inside Out, Despicable Me, and Deadpool and Wolverine. All going to be winners to me. My prediction. The losers. I put this just in case. Maybe a winner, maybe a loser. Horizon, Trap, If, Kraven, Harold the Purple Crayon, and Bad Boys. The Bad Boys probably going to be the loser, the biggest loser of all losers.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I mean, everything that you said, I would echo too. I don't think there's much difference between the top and the bottom. Borderlands is that one that could be on the hit list. It could be on the loser list. It could be a bottom feeder. It could be a huge box office story. So that is probably my biggest, I just don't know. I don't know how to gauge Borderlands right now. And Alien Romulus is probably the other one. It could bring back the franchise or it could set it back another 5 or 10 years, depending on how well it does. I think we can all agree there's not going to be an if 2. This is a one-off. It's one and done. And John Krasinski, who's a fine director, will happily move back to a
Quiet Place 3. We need it. We need a part 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, he will. And so I agree with you. Those are the top film. The top films, the top 4 films. I think it's clear and away. Inside Out 2, Despicable Me 4, Deadpool, Wolverine, and Twisters. I feel like those 4 films in particular, who all have a chance to do $1 billion worldwide, are far and away the top grossing films of the summer. Everything after that is going to be, does it hit with audiences? A Quiet Place, Day One, Furiosa, Borderlands, Garfield, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Those are the ones that are right there too, right beneath them in terms of box office.
Except Twisters, in case. I'm going to say the ones that are going to make a billy Inside Out, Despicable Me, and Deadpool. I think those are the three. Those are the $3 billion.
Yeah,
I think it will make.
without question. Those
Without
are the three. I think best calls. Twisters is the only one that I think could surprise and end up hitting that. Horizon is the other one that is probably questionable. I think Kevin Costner spent $100 million on doing
on like both of them, and then he's gonna do what, part 2 and part 3 as well.
Well, he wants to do 3 and 4. He said he wrote 4. So if these do well, guess what? We're gonna get part 3 and 4 probably released the same summer in a couple summers.
Oh man, yeah. Okay, Jeff, I think we did it. It's so hard to end. It's really sad to end this on a high note. I had fun discussing this wild episode, but Jeff, thank you so much for being on this episode of I Screened, You Screened 4, number 4 for movies.
Thanks, Danny.
What a jam-packed episode. And where can the listeners find you and discover your box office fun?
There's only one place, man. You got to go to Twitter. You got to go to X. It's at ERCBoxOffice.com. I update daily grosses, interesting thoughts about movies, trends, alien popcorn buckets. You know I'm going to have features about whatever this Deadpool bucket is. So check me out there. Check ERC Box Office out on Twitter.
And that's where you can find him on his social media platforms. And you have a podcast on the website, don't you? I know you don't run it, but let's say you're part of it, or is it just somebody else? I seen a link on that before. In the Real Boys
there's a link. We haven't done it for a while. Probably in the summer, I'll get back to doing Twitter Spaces. I usually only do it if there's something to talk about, something worth the time to talk about, 15 or 20 minutes. But check that out this summer. I'll probably do some live spaces on there.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's where you can find Jeff Bock at Exhibit Relations Co. on Twitter X. And that's where you can find all his box office raw feeds and everything, to the point where he's the hypest man, but nowhere, let's say, me and him are equivalent to hype, but I think I'm the more hypest than him. Let's just say, not to brag.
No, Danny's bringing the hype, and you got to love it. Summer movies, honestly, it's where it's at. It's what Danny and I think both love. I grew up going to the movies every single weekend in the summer because it's just, you know what? It's a goddamn good time. That's what it is. It's a
goddamn paradise for all we love.
It is.
IPs and franchise and sequels are the reason why we love going to the movies. And that's why summer 2024 could be that history right here, right now, if all according to plan.
Hey, guys, 14 sequels coming out this summer. 14 of them. So if you love sequels, you love popcorn movies, that's why we go to the movies.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as I'm about to wrap this up, all you can do is, if you enjoy this massive episode of I Screened, You Screened 4, number 4 movies, subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening on. I'm on YouTube with Jeff Bock, and you can see that I have this newer mic right here that's swirly and colorful. But ladies and gentlemen, I got this whole new mic, so hopefully my sound quality is better than I have before. So, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you are listening to the podcast, you're not getting the whole story. Got this new mic, got Jeff on cam, got myself on cam. So you'll get to see plenty of face cams all around this summer with these movie reviews. So subscribe to the podcast if you haven't. If you want to enjoy my face as well, if you're just only a podcast listener, follow my Twitter, follow my social media platforms on Twitter X and TikTok. And I think this is a considerable must follow, because I don't know if I told you, Jeff, but for these social media platforms, I will be releasing only for this episode each topic's video clips of our movie discussions. And the way it works is I won't be posting them daily, but let's say the movie Fall Guy comes out next week. I'll be posting the whole video clip. And yeah, this will go on the YouTube channel for that topic, whatever gets more views or not. It will be on the YouTube channel that will discuss the predictions and thoughts and excitement buzz going forward with these movies. The Fall Guy, for instance, will be having its own clip by me, and it will be out next week. So every movie we discuss, majorly important, these clips will be on my social media platforms, on iScreen, YouScreen 4, number 4 movies, and the YouTube channel. So that's where you must subscribe and follow my social media platforms just to get more of those clips.
Do it.
And they will be interesting or not, exciting, because in case no one wants to delve in for an hour and 45 minutes of this episode, this is why I will be making these clips very interesting to post in them. And anything, 5 stars on Apple Podcasts really helps listeners find the show. And that's all I got. Until then, I got The Fall Guy kicking off next week, so stay tuned for that if you are excited to listen the review of The Fall Guy kicking off summer. But ladies and gentlemen, until then, this is Danny Escamalaji signing off of I Screened, You Scream 4, number 4, 4 movies. Stay screaming on 4 of the movies. Take care and good night. Peace.